I'm going to be honest, Rountree had me scared. I'm not going to lie. I was scared. Rountree in those first 2 rounds looked really, really sharp and explosive.
Careful though. He could literally get KO'd at any second. He could.
And Poton, he was getting hit. We know he's getting hit, but his chin held up really well. He did get dropped, but we're going to talk about that later. UFC 307 Rountree versus Pereira just took place at Salt Lake City, Utah. And we're going to break down the full card and the awful judging and the awful reffing. The Dodson's curse is over, thank goodness. If you know, we cursed Sean O'Malley, and then we predicted Alex Pereira to win. And I was thinking, in those first 2 rounds, the Dodson's curse is coming true again, but we avoided it, thank goodness. We're also going to talk about Pereira fighting sick and injured, which I predicted. Everyone knows, Dylan, Matthew, everyone in Dodson's corner, they know. I texted them a week ago, 5 days ago. Pereira looks sick in all of his interviews. He can't stop sniffling. And then on the stool in the fight, he was coughing and blowing his nose. I knew he was sick going into this fight, and I was worried. It just added an extra layer of worry, but he got the job done. He doesn't make excuses. He does not pull out. Pause. Let's get into the card. Overall, I went 6 for 6 for picks. Perfect, 100%. No, not really, because the judges were absolute buffoons, and there was robberies. Aldo got robbed, and then Raquel Pennington lost a close decision. I'll give you that. It was close. That first round is a swing round for sure, but I had Pennington winning. Not just because of the picks. Genuinely, I thought Pennington won over Juliana Pena, and so did every other media member. But we're going to talk about that later. I'm already ranting. Okay, let's get into the early prelims. Court McGee got a good win in his home city. First round locked up the submissions on Tim Means. Not much to say. He got it done in like 2 minutes. Tisha Pennington won a close decision against Carla Esparza. Esparza also retired at the end of the fight. Obviously, she's had a long career, a very successful career. So good for her. She wants to focus on the family. It is what it is. Lots of people think she got robbed. I disagree. She did not do enough with her takedowns. She didn't advance the position enough for them to count more than Tisha Pennington's damage. And if you're wondering why there's 2 Penningtons, they're married. It's the wife, okay? So they both fought on this card. But anyways, I do not agree that this was a robbery. I think this was the right decision. And there was a 30-27 scorecard. I don't know if she won 3 rounds. I don't agree with that. And if you look at her post-fight, when she's getting her hand raised, when she heard 30-27, she thought Carla Esparza won. She did not think she won that fight. She was laughing because she thought she got robbed again. Okay, watch it closely. Look at the body language. She thought she lost that fight when she heard that 30-27 scorecard. Ryan Spann got a great guillotine win, which is his signature move against OSP in the first round. He looked sharp, and look, I hope he locks in to get some more wins, because man, he could be a problem for lots of light heavyweights if he consistently trained, which he said he will. He went over to the commentary desk afterward and said, look, I'm going to be consistent now. So that would be amazing. He's a great prospect if he tries. The problem is he doesn't train super consistently. So it'd be nice to see him get some more wins under his belt. And I'm looking forward to that because he has power in his hands and he can lock up that guillotine. The way he jumped on that so fast, so tight, pause, it was great. Moving on to the prelims. Alexander Hernandez got a decision win over Austin Hubbard. I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch this when I was eating dinner, so I don't have much to say about it. Yasmin Lucindo got a win against Marina Rodriguez, so she'll improve her ranking from number 14, I believe, to number 6. Don't quote me on that. She looked all right, but honestly, she didn't look good enough to take on the top 3 in that division. I wasn't wildly impressed. But that is women's MMA. It's tough to judge. Next, we are moving on to the real excitement of the card. Joaquin Buckley. I picked Joaquin Buckley to win, and he did. But to be honest, during the entire fight, I was cheering for my boy, Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson. Surprisingly, he was able to get the KO, Joaquin Buckley. He just lunged his way into a weird-looking KO against the fence. Look, fair play. He got it done in the 3rd round, but it's one of those performances where I think Wonder Boy was looking better in the first 2 rounds. I had him up. That one is tough to score. You could have given one of those rounds to Joaquin Buckley and one of those rounds to Stephen Thompson. And then I think Stephen Thompson was looking better in the 3rd round. So it was looking like it was going to go decision Thompson until Buckley found that KO, which is all it takes. But I was super impressed with Stephen Thompson. He's 41 and he still looks sharp and fast and keeping up with some of the biggest up and comers in this division, like Joaquin Buckley, who hasn't lost since he came to welterweight. Joaquin Buckley made a call out for Kamaru Usman at the end of his fight. Do I agree with that call out? Look, it's better than Conor McGregor. Look, fair enough. You want the fight. It's not a horrible call out. Do I think he's going to get the fight? No, I don't think Kamaru Usman wants that fight. Not because Usman is scared of that fight, just because Usman wants to get one more win to get him into the title picture. He doesn't want to fight someone who's way down in the rankings at number 9 to get a title shot. He wants one more win and then to get the title back. That's what he's focused on. He doesn't want to take 2 more wins and then fight for a title. So I don't think that's realistically going to happen unless Buckley wins again before Kamaru Usman comes back, which I think is unlikely. The thing that impressed me the most about Wonderboy in this fight is that he was able to defend the takedowns really, really well. He did get taken down a couple times, but I think overall I was impressed. I think Joaquin Buckley, coming into this fight, I was expecting him to dominate kind of on the ground, take a Hamzat approach and just, full football tackle him to the ground right away. But that didn't work. And so he was forced to strike with him, which he did get some good exchanges in. They were pretty even in lots of the exchanges. Wonderboy caught him in lots of the exchanges. Buckley did find his range kind of in the second round. Now, let me read you. This is where the judges were sus all night, but this is where I was like, hold on, what's going on here? So the judge scorecards had it 1-1. The first judge had it 1-1 for Buckley and Stephen Thompson, so 1 round apiece. The second judge, Sal D'Amato, which needs to be fired, had it 2-0 Buckley, which is insane. And then the third judge had it 0-2 Wonderboy. What is going on here? That's a disgrace to the sport, man. We're turning to boxing. All right, let's move on to the main card. I picked Kayla Harrison to win via decision, and she did do just that. Honestly, she wasn't able to get as many takedowns or as easily as I would have thought, being a minus 1,000 favorite or minus 950. She really went for the judo trips, which weren't working. And I think if she wants to progress in her MMA game, she needs to learn how to shoot a double leg and just get her opponent down to the ground. And Vieira caught her a lot on the feet. I was confused a little bit. I was like, why is she not just going to the ground? As much as I don't want a woman's fight to stay on the ground for 10, 15 minutes, that's how Kayla Harrison is going to win this fight. Let's be real. Again, like I said, this performance was not as dominant as I thought it would have been, but I still think she'll hold the title in the future, especially seeing what we saw in the co-main event. That performance was abysmal. But I think this wasn't a wow performance. She looked a bit better on the feet. She looked like she definitely improved her MMA game. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe the weight cut took a toll on her, plus fighting at altitude in Salt Lake City. That can't be easy when you walk around at 170 pounds and have to cut down to 135. That's brutal. Next up, a disappointing fight. Again, Roman Dolidze wins by injury over Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland was trying to roll around and kind of get out from underneath Roman Dolidze and just tore some sort of rib muscle. That's what it looked like. It doesn't really make sense if he broke it because there wasn't any impact, but who knows? I think it was probably a tear, maybe a fracture, but it sucks to see. This was one of the fights that I was really looking forward to because I think these two guys are relatively evenly matched. I was kind of torn with who to pick. I did pick Roman Dolidze, so by now I was 3 for 3. I had Buckley, Kayla Harrison, and Roman Dolidze. They all won. And it is a shame because I feel like this is where the card started to go into a downward spiral. I was really looking forward to this, and then it just ended up in a weird, not doctor stoppage. It was really a throw in the towel by Kevin Holland because he's in so much pain. And if Kevin Holland throws in the towel, it's probably a legit reason. He's probably, not able to walk very well. Next up, oh boy, it's time to rant. I feel like Dylan in this bitch. Okay, let's rant. Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. What an awful, 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 awful decision. Jose Aldo won against Mario Bautista. Just kidding, but he should have. Those judges are absolutely terrible. They need to be re-educated on what counts in MMA scoring. Holding Aldo against the fence without any takedowns does not count as offense. It counts as kind of control time against the fence. But control time only counts if you're not advancing position or doing active damage if the round is razor close. Aldo won the exchanges on the feet. It was not razor close. Aldo visibly hurt Mario Bautista on the feet and visibly got the better of most exchanges in the second and third round. So the control time should not overrule the damage that was done. That's how MMA scoring works. And if you're thinking, Jose Aldo should have gotten points for takedown defense. Defense does not get you any points in MMA scoring. It's only offense. So that's why I'm saying that Jose Aldo's offense should have scored him more than what Mario Bautista was doing on the fence. If you can win without getting a single takedown, 0 takedowns landed in the entire fight for Mario Bautista, you should not be able to win an MMA fight that way unless the other person does absolutely nothing or you're exactly even in the rounds, which they weren't. Aldo was up. Mario Bautista clearly won that first round, and then Jose Aldo clearly won the second and third round. Genuinely, these judges were probably the worst I've ever seen. They are getting to the levels of boxing, and they should all have to re-educate themselves frequently, 6 months, once a year. I don't care what it is. They need to go back to training. And I just watched a full a podcast episode with Mark Goddard on how to ref and how to judge things. So it's fresh in my mind. Everyone, look, I'm going to calm down. I'm going to try and calm down. This was an absolute joke. I think everyone knows it. Aldo does not deserve to have that loss. And Mario Bautista does not deserve to A, move up in the rankings, and B, fight up in the rankings again. So I think he should fight someone lower in the rankings kind of as a punishment. And look, I know this isn't his fault. I don't care, dude. I just don't care, okay? I know it's not his fault. You can go in the comments and write, it's the judges. Look, I don't want to see him fight up in the rankings. I don't want to see him move higher, because if that's how he's going to fight, that's it's 2 times more boring than how Merab fights. And that's saying something. All right, let's move on to the co-main. This card just keeps getting worse. Let's go. Raquel Pennington won against Juliana Pena. Just kidding. Another stupid decision, in my opinion. Look, I get it was a close fight. Let's go through the rounds. Raquel Pennington, I had winning the first round, but it was very close. Again, it's one of those situations where Juliana Pena gets a takedown, but the takedown did not damage Pennington, okay? It was not a slam takedown, which is the only time a takedown itself counts for damage points, okay? So a takedown counts as damage points if it's a slam and it visibly hurts them. But then if you advance the position, that's when a takedown starts to count for more. A takedown by itself only secures a round if the round is razor close in damage before that. If you have someone who is neck and neck and then the other person gets a takedown at the very end of the round and doesn't advance any position, doesn't do any damage, they will win that round. But Juliana Pena did not advance a position or get much damage on Raquel Pennington, enough for me to override the damage scoring that Raquel Pennington did in the first round. Juliana Pena clearly won the second and third round. Not going to argue that. And then Raquel Pennington clearly won the fourth and the fifth. Definitely the fifth. So I think that is another awful decision. And I don't know if I have the screenshot, but there is something floating around on Twitter. Every single media member and commentators had Raquel Pennington winning. And there was 25 plus or 20 plus media members on that list who all had Pennington 48-47. So look, if you have 25 people seeing it one way and the judges see it another way, I think there needs to be some sort of bridge to the gap. How are all of us seeing it one way? And then I know some of you guys are going to say Juliana Pena won, but let's say, for sake of argument, how are all of the media members seeing it one way who are knowledgeable people and who cover the sport of MMA every single day, and the judges seeing it completely differently? One of them scored it. Yeah, it was a split decision. One of them scored it for Raquel Pennington, but the other 2 scored it for Juliana Pena. I just don't understand it. Again, this is why I'm saying I went 6 for 6 in picks, because I picked Aldo by decision, I picked Raquel Pennington by decision, and I should have gotten that right. Okay, so That's that. Next up, the main event. Let's talk about it. Pereira, as usual, is saving another subpar card with a banger fight. This one went a little bit longer than I was expecting, a little bit more stress on my nervous system than I was expecting. I'll roll some of the clips of us live reacting to it. Dodson's Corner, let's go.
Nice. Oh, come on. Oh, careful.
Oh! Get him, Rountree! Come on, man!
This is struggling for air.
Oh, the body! The body is down! Oh!
Yes!
Coming into this fight, Pereira revealed that he was on antibiotics, he had a fever and a sore throat, and a rib injury. That's insane, dude. He does not pull out of cards. He is just a warrior. This is what a champion is, and I'm impressed. I know that those first 2 rounds, they definitely went to Rountree. Rountree looked amazing. We got to give him all the props in the world for going to an absolute war, being this unproven guy and impressing everyone. I think gaining a lot of fans, which rightfully so. Plinio, Pereira's coach, also said that this camp was only 3 weeks because of illness and injury, which again, you might be saying, oh, 3 weeks is fine because he's been so active. Dude, no one wants a 3-week camp for a championship fight. Are you crazy? Don't say that's okay. That's not okay, especially when you go to altitude to train, right? Because you're adjusting to altitude for the first week. So this is insanely impressive. And so his camp was realistically just that 3 weeks in Utah. That was his only training camp. And that's insanely impressive. And I think he deserves some time off. Like, give this man a break. He deserves it. As much as I want to see him fight and defend that championship against Magomed Ankalaev next, give him a 6-month layoff, please. Khalil looked very sharp and explosive in rounds 1 and 2. I expected this in round 1. I expect him to be moving around. But man, he could throw those hands extremely fast. He was working well off the straight punches and then mixed in some looping punches, which did catch Pereira. He caught him with some overhands a couple times, and Pereira got in a weird situation in the second round where he actually got dropped. Rountree kind of came over the top and hit him with his wrist when Pereira was turned around from missing a kick. That's another thing I'm going to say. I want to comment on the kicks. Why was Pereira throwing so many head kicks when none of them were landing? It was weird. He would go head kick and then outside leg kick, and it was just not working out for him. And then he switched to just going solely back to those calf kicks, debilitating Khalil Rountree for the next 2 rounds. And he was really able to pick up the pace once Khalil Rountree was tired from those big explosive movements. Pereira took over from the 3rd and the 4th round and eventually got the TKO by body shots. It was beautiful. He just dropped him in the 4th round. I think we also need to talk about the fact that Pereira's chin has gotten quite a bit better since the middleweight cuts. He just looks so much more healthy, and it makes sense, right? He does not have to cut to 185 pounds. This dude is weighing in at 230 pounds the day after weigh-ins. How did he ever make 185 pounds? It'll always blow my mind. And apparently his weight cuts are completely different than anyone else. He can just shed off weight in a day. That's what his coaches were saying. I don't know how true that is. Like, I don't know what he weighs a week before the fight compared to the day before his like serious cut, but apparently he just goes in the day before the cut and sheds all of the weight off. So that's insanely impressive. I've never heard of that before. I do want to take some credit because I texted about two or three people saying Pereira is sick. I texted that like 5 days ago. I was watching all the interviews. Pereira has a sniffly nose in every single interview, and his voice sounds like raspy. And I was right. He was sick. He had a fever. He had a sore throat. Pretty much exactly what I thought. I don't think it was like, I think it was more of a prior sickness rather than he got it during fight week and in altitude. I think this is something that he's probably been dealing with for a while. But yeah, it was good to see him fight through that and not pull out because let's be real. If you're fighting for a title and you're Dagestani and something goes wrong, you're pulling out. The other main point I want to highlight is how effective Pereira was with his basic striking. Once you went back to fundamentals of calf kicks and jabbing, he took over the fight. The jab was the difference maker. He also landed some straight punches. He did land some hooks when he had Khalil Rountree injured, and he landed a big uppercut, which really rocked Rountree. But overall, it was the jab that made the difference in that fight. And I think it's a nice refresher for Pereira to realize that he's not invincible and can't KO people with one punch in every fight, or at least in the first round in every fight. So this, I think, is a great reminder for him that he needs to take it slow and not throw a teep kick to the face right coming out the gates, if you saw that. But yeah, man, I'm just happy that Pereira won. I was really worried in those first 2 rounds. And if Rountree took the belt off Pereira after everything that's happened in 2024, I think I might probably give up the YouTube channel. Dodson's Corner would just explode at that point. I also think a lot of this patience that Pereira had in the finish can be attributed to the Izzy fight. We saw in that Izzy fight, he got so overzealous and just started wailing on him and then got caught twice with a counter. And he did not let Khalil counter him in a large way. Khalil found the counter a couple times, but it was more grazing off the shoulder, and then hitting him and not hitting him cleanly. There's a train outside. So I think that Pereira has learned a lot from that. He's a lot more cautious. He respects the power coming back a lot more. And his head movement looked amazing in this fight. If you watch the last minute and a half finishing sequence, he was just slipping in and out of range at the perfect times, which we haven't seen Pereira have great head movement in the past. That's a big critique. And he didn't have great head movement moving back from Khalil's punches in the first 2 rounds. He was really moving back linearly and got caught a couple times. But when he was exchanging in the pocket, he was going in and out. It was beautiful. We didn't have to see any grappling or takedown defense in this fight, which I honestly wanted Pereira to shoot a takedown. I'm very sad that he didn't. Yeah, this fight kind of makes me reevaluate how I look at the Ankalaev fight, because clearly Pereira can't just walk through everyone. And yes, he was dealing with sickness and injuries, but so is everyone going into a fight. You know, it's very rare that you get a fighter going in 100% to a fight. But yeah, that does it for this recap. Where do you think Khalil Rountree goes in the rankings? Does he stay the same? Who does he fight next? Jamal Hill would be amazing. I'd love to see him fight up in the rankings. Maybe the loser of Magomed Ankalaev and Rakic. That would be a good fight. But let me know what you guys thought of this card. Let me know what you think of Pereira's fight. Should he move up to heavyweight? Should he defend against Ankalaev? We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.